Let's start at home, where some good news coming out of the Calvin Johnson Detroit Lions camp, where Calvin looks like he's going to be taking the first round number 12 pick Jameson Williams under his wing to help him get acclimated to potentially being the number one for the Detroit Lions. What's your thoughts on Calvin getting back into the fold?
I don't want to be a wet blanket here. I don't know that it's him getting back in the fold with the Lions. I think he's just helping out Jameson Williams because he likes the kid. He wants the kid to succeed. When Jameson Williams picked number 18, he said it was an homage to Calvin, who was 81, so he just flipped the numbers back around. But I don't think this means that there's any bridges mended between the Lions and Calvin by any means.
All right, well, so to piggyback on what you're talking about, Calvin Megatron abruptly retired in 2015, and his relationship with the Lions has been shaky, and that's putting it nicely, at best. This is a Hall of Fame inductee. He holds the franchise record for receiving yards by first ballot, receiving yards record by nearly 2,500 yards, receiving touchdowns record by over 20. A little bit of bickering over, $1.6 million, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And he wants a reimbursement over something he didn't feel he should have had to pay back, and doesn't want to have to work for it because he feels he's already worked for it. And whether you're on the Lions side or you're on Megatron's side, I think it's at least a good sign that Calvin wants to get involved and help out. He has a thing for wide receivers, it seems like, in general, obviously, with that being his position, but he kind of takes to that a little bit more and has wanted to help, and apparently has been involved with some of the wide receivers in the past. Not that we saw it on the field of play, but maybe it'll be different with Jameson.
Man, Jameson Williams is the most talented receiver that the Lions have had since Calvin Johnson, even coming off of his ACL tear. I don't even know that it's so arguable. Obviously, he was the highest receiver picked by the Lions. They took T.J. Hockenson a little bit ahead of where they took Jameson Williams in the draft, but he's a tight end. And with Jameson Williams, it's obviously great to have Calvin as a mentor. Any wide receiver would be lucky to be taught by Calvin Johnson, one of the greatest receivers ever. I know his all-time numbers don't stack up, but he was injured. He, of course, retired early. But just when you watch this man in his prime, one of the best receivers of all time. Hopefully Jameson Williams can be another best receiver of all time and do it in the Honolulu Blue for even a longer time than Calvin does. We're hoping that Jameson Williams ends up breaking all of those Calvin Johnson records that you rattled off there in the beginning. And for Calvin, while again his beef has kind of always been with, I think, the ownership group, the front office, whatever you want to say, it's not anything that he's ever taken out on other players, right? He doesn't come out and bash the Lions as a defense, even though there's certainly room for it, or a receiving room, there's certainly room for it. Jared Goff, the list goes on and on. He's still been gracious as far as the players go, right? The camaraderie, and there's nobody on this team, at least I don't think anymore, that Calvin would have played with. So it seems like he just kind of has that NFL brotherhood, fraternity, whatever you want to call it. And he does know, of course, that he played for the Lions. So maybe he's a little bit more willing to help the Lions players. Although I've seen him work with some other top receivers in the game. I think when Julio Jones was in Atlanta, he was working with Julio a bunch. Two of the best receivers ever. Calvin, obviously, from Atlanta, went to Georgia Tech, all of that. So still has his home roots there. And then in Michigan as well. And I think it's just him reaching out to Kid. Maybe he would have reached out to him even if he didn't play for the Lions. I guess we'll never know. It's not like he reached out to London or Olave or at least anything that we've heard of. So maybe there's some credence to, because it's the Lions, it's the reason he helped, or it's because Jameson Williams shouted out Calvin Johnson that he decided to take that step forward and say, hey, if you want to come kick it with me, we can do that, and I can give you some tips, some whatever. So that's kind of where I think it is. It's a good move on Calvin's part, obviously, and all the Lions fans love to hear it, even if it doesn't mean Calvin returning back to Ford Field. I think he got inducted in the Ring of Honor last year, I think, and when they came out at halftime, and Martha got booed. Martha and Sheila got all booed. But I think with Jameson Williams, or even with Lions fans, taking out Calvin potentially like rekindling his relationship with the Lions. It's just cool that we have our rookie receiver being taught by one of our best receivers ever. You know, like if the Broncos, if John Elway was like tutoring Russell Wilson or something, like they'd get a kick out of that too. So I think that's kind of more so what it is, and that's the more of the reason to be excited, and certainly not a bad thing.
Oh, definitely not. I wonder if Calvin sees some similarities in Jameson's game versus his own, and I wonder if he sees some similarities as well in the way they are coming into the league, coming with the Lions. He talked about both of them being a higher draft pick and the expectations that come with it. But fans might not remember, but Calvin was in a row of receivers taken by the Lions. You had Charles Rogers, you had Roy Williams, you had Mike Williams, and none of them really panned out. So when Calvin was picked, there was a love, but there was also a question mark of, we've done this before, we've tried this before, is it going to work this time? And then with Jameson, it was the Lions made this trade up to pick again early in the draft. They had seen, I think London was the first wide receiver off the board, and he was taken at 10 or 11, something like that. And so I wonder if they saw like the dominoes falling and said, we need to get a wide receiver in here. This is the guy talent-wise, even if he's hurt right now. And then there was the questions from the fans again, why are we taking a receiver? And so I'm wondering if he's seeing similarities between how they came into the league along with maybe in their game.
Yeah, I think there's similarities. They're both also coming into bad teams, obviously. Calvin was the number 2 pick, so the Lions were one of the worst teams in the entire league when Calvin joined, and then they went, I think, 0-16 his rookie year. So even a step back from their number 2, or his number 2 draft selection where he was picked. And Williams obviously fell a little bit because of his injury, but still a high pick. Was more pressure on Calvin, I would imagine, than there is on Jameson Williams, only because I think most Lions fans are going to be patient with Jameson Williams, knowing that he's coming back from injury and just wanting him to be the guy. And it probably helps Jameson Williams that the Lions have another first-round pick that was taken even higher than he was, to where if he's not performing, I think most of the pressure is going to go off him, and Jameson Williams is going to kind of just get a free year because Lions fans will make all the excuses in the world for him, and not excuses in that, oh, you're just using this to say whatever. Like, they might be legitimate, right? You got Jared Goff throwing you the ball. He's coming back. Probably not until like week 8, if that, right? Maybe even a little bit later. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions slow played his development. And then if Aiden Hutchinson struggles, it's going to take a lot of the pressure off of Jameson Williams anyway. And I think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt more so than probably any other rookie receiver for good reason. And with him and Calvin, I do think their situations are pretty similar. I mean, of course, they're always different, but I do think that there's some credence to what you said, and that's partly why Calvin reached it.
It's a shame that he's not actually back into the fold, Calvin, because we got Hard Knocks coming up soon, and how much fun would it be to see Calvin working with Jameson and the wide receivers in general on HBO, where there's no bleeping or anything like that. You're getting the full language and everything because it's paid channels, and it'd be a lot of fun to watch 81 working with the wide receivers, but they're not there yet. I'm hoping they got there with Barry eventually. I hope they get there with Calvin as well, because it would only be for the betterment of the organization. The fans would love to see it, and especially right now with Hard Knocks about to be launched and we're going to be seeing the Lions every week on Tuesday, it would have been a lot of fun to see Calvin involved in the fold then. But c'est la vie, that's not happening just yet. We'll have to deal with Dan Campbell biting kneecaps and watching Jared Goff overthrow receivers on HBO.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN, and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.